Okay, everybody, welcome back. I hope that yesterday's homework went well. It seemed to have a good response from most people. I want to make sure that all the kids are able to get in and get to the site, get to the games. And so if you're having issues with this, please let me know. I also want to apologize for having my face in the middle of the screen yesterday. I'm still learning to work out the kinks, but we're playing around with it. So today's lesson is going to be on using a calculator to convert fractions and decimals. So at some point today, make sure that during this, make sure you have a calculator available. You know, if you need to have one, I always go to the menu here and you go along to accessories and you can find the calculator in here if you need one. You can also go, I know iPads, I know all the cell phones have a calculator too, or you can just pull out an old-fashioned calculator if you have one. So, but real quick, this is a review from yesterday, and we talked about finding the percents and decimal equivalencies for these. So why don't you pause it, take a chance. Alright, let's see how you did. Okay, 41 over 100, 41%, or 41, and these should all be reviewed. The hardest one here should be 9/10, which is the same as 9/10, or 90 out of 100, which should be the same as 90%. Moving on, do these in your head as well. Okay, good. I hope you've decided to make these all out of 100. So for example, 4 times 25 gives you 100, so 1 times 25 is 25%. 5 times 20 gives you 100, so 1 times 20 is 20%. 4 times 25 is the same as 100, so 3 times 25 is the same as 75 or 75%. And the same is true here. Pause it, give it a try. Alright, let's see how we did. Okay, good. As long as you turn these all out of to 100, 2 times 50 would give you 100, so 4 times 50 would give you 200, or 2.00 as a decimal. And all of these, 20 times 5, 20 times 5, 25 times 4, you do that to the numerator, and of course you'd get the same number for the decimal or the percent. Okay, so today we're working on, once again, looking at our easy fractions, and mostly we're working on how to use a calculator to determine what the decimal is and therefore what the percent is. So what if you did 1 divided by 2? Let's see what we can get here. So I'm going to pull up my calculator, and I get 1 divided by 2, and I got 0.5, or 50 hundredths, 5/10, or 50 hundredths, which would then be 50%. And we know half of 100 is 50%. 3 divided by 4, let me clear it. 3 divided by 4, so I'm in this fraction right here, is the same as 75 hundredths, or 75%. And the same is true if you did it for both of this. So let's move on. So what did you notice? Hopefully you noticed the number on the calculator is the decimal for the fraction. And we're going to do our math journal in class today to verify that you have the correct decimal names for the fractions. So, and we're going to do that in class when you come in tomorrow. One way to rename a fraction as a decimal is to divide the numerator by the denominator. We've talked about how that line on a fraction is the same as a division sign. So, in this lesson, we will practice using the calculator to rename the fraction as decimal. So, here is once again our form we use for the equivalent fraction sheet. And so we know that all of these are equivalents because 1 times 2 is 2, and 3 times 2 is 6. 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. And so that's how we did all our equivalent fractions. And we did these spots yesterday. The question is, could you figure out these spots here for any of the blanks? So for here, what I'd want you to do is to take your calculator. I'm going to pull my calculator back up, and I have 1 divided by 3. Now we have a big number here, 0.333333 repeating, but you just use the first 2 spots. We just rounded the nearest hundredth spot, and so if we looked at that, it rounds to 0.33 or 33 hundredths, which is the same as 33%. So if I get out my pen here, this would be the same as 33 hundredths, or 33%. Okay, right here, if you did 2/3, you would take your calculator and you would do your numerator. Your numerator is 2. and you're dividing it by the denominator, which is 3. And once again, you have 0.66666, and it'll repeat forever. The reason that 7's at the end is because it was rounded up. Eventually, the 6 need to be rounded to 7. So if you're rounding here, you go to your second spot, and so we have 0.6666, okay? But if you look at that second spot here, that hundredth spot, we got to round to that spot. So if you look at the number right after, that's 6. Is it 5 or more? Then we raise this up. Is it 4 or less? Then we don't. Well, it's 5 or more. So we have 0.67, and then that translates to 67%. So a calculator is really helpful when you start dealing with percents. And it's one of the few times I'll actually allow you to use it. Why don't you try on these here and see how you do. Pause it for a second, and we'll see how you do. Okay, so let's take a look. So for 1/6, if I was going to do it, 1 divided by 6 would equal 17%, because he had 16 and 1 would go up, so 17 hundredths. Okay, if I did 5/6, 5 divided by 6, and I got 83 hundredths. I don't have to round up because that 3 is less than 5 here. So, and that'd be the same as 83%. 1/8, 1 divided by 8, and you have 12, and you have 12%, but actually you'd round up to 13%, and so on. So I think you guys have the idea of this, so I'm not going to make you do the rest of these, but make sure you can do any fraction and turn it into a percent and a decimal. We'll continue to work on this in class, but make sure you're pausing these and practicing, because you will have to fill it out here. This is a game we'll be playing later. And take a second and try to do just this column here. Why don't you just try to do some of those and see how you do, and just make sure you have a good understanding of how this works. Let's see. And that's it. So if you